Do Liverpool really need this guy? Let's talk about Andre Trindade and why I think he'll fit perfectly into this Liverpool team, despite Liverpool having a really good start to this season with their new midfield. There's been a sea of change at Liverpool this season. They've revamped the entire midfield, got rid of some old heads that were losing their legs, and I don't think Jurgen Klopp has found that defensive midfielder that he wanted in that lone six role. I say that because they tried to sign Caicedo, they tried to sign Lavia, and they also brought in Endo from Schalke. Endo's an experienced defensive midfielder, but from what I've seen, he's not comfortable playing as a lone defensive midfielder, and he played in the two at Schalke. This also goes for Mac Allister, who's been filling in at that number 6 role, but at Brighton he never played as a lone 6. He actually prefers to play further forward as an 8, or if he is playing deeper, he normally plays in the 2 like he did at Brighton with Caicedo or Pascal Gross. I think ideally that Jurgen would prefer to have Thiago or the young midfielder Bajcetic that playing there. They've both had experience in the role at Liverpool, but both are injured right now, and of course we all know Thiago is pretty injury prone. I think Liverpool fans haven't been that confident in Mac Allister playing there this season, but from what I've seen he's done a really good job actually, and the stats confirm that. I don't think a lot of people understand that the role at Liverpool of that holding midfielder is completely different to other clubs. For example, like Man City. There's a reason that Fabinho was called the lighthouse. Liverpool's style of football, I like to call it controlled chaos. Whilst you know at Man City that Pep Guardiola loves to control all aspects of his team's play, and he hates chaos. It's why he hated playing up against Salah, Mane and Firmino, because they were the definition of chaos for him. It's why at City Rodri doesn't need to cover that much ground, because Pep likes to have that defensive control. Sometimes he plays with 4 centre-backs, but usually they've got 3 centre-backs and Kyle Walker, who is kind of an auxiliary centre-back. At Liverpool though, there's the right-back Trent, who's been given freedom to cut inside, to go wide. Sometimes he's even over on the left-hand side of the pitch, which means that one of the centre-backs has to go wide. Normally that's Konate, Gomez or Matip. The left-back, Tsimikas and Robertson are still allowed to go forward as well. What this means is that they're really vulnerable to counterattacks, but they're playing a high-risk game, controlled chaos. This is also why it's a tough job being in that holding midfield role at Liverpool. In that context, that's why Mac Allister has done a really good job so far at the start of the season. I think, they would be undefeated if not for the VAR chaos that happened at Tottenham. Now let's take a look at Andre and Fluminense. They're an interesting case of a club. Personally, I enjoy watching Serie A in Brazil. It's an exciting league. There's a lot of excitement right now around the title race, so take a look at that if you haven't. When it comes to Flu though, Fernando Diniz, who is the manager of Brazil, also has an interesting style of football, and this is one I really enjoy. They play with the number 10, and even though he's being called Mini Pep by some parts of the Brazilian media, I don't think he is a Mini Pep. For me, they also play controlled chaos, but with not as much control as a Liverpool side, for example, because Fluminense, he loves to give freedom to his players. They play with a number 10. This is magical in football. We've missed having the number 10 in football for 2 decades now. Will have a video on that soon. But at Flu, with their fluid, I would say, possession-based football, constant approximation, and trying to create numerical superiority in small areas of the pitch, means that they're vulnerable to counterattacks. And of course, all teams are vulnerable to counterattacks, but the constant number of counterattacks that Fluminense come up against is quite high. And this is where Andre comes in. He's absolutely brilliant at covering the spaces, covering the centre-backs, covering the right-back and the left-back Marcelo, who really get up the pitch a lot. Sometimes Marcelo ends up on the right wing, but Andre is always there. He's always in position. He's always there to cover the gaps. And one thing that I really like about him is that he's composed. He doesn't have a rush of blood, I would say. I mean, his disciplinary record isn't that great, but he stays on his feet a lot. His tackling is all about staying on his feet, and he wraps his leg around the player to win the ball. This was something I noticed that Lucas Leiva used to do a lot when he played at Liverpool as well, and it's a really refined style of tackling. He's also knows when to cover players that have gone up the pitch, so he's tactically aware, and he's still a young player. In a few of the Libertadores games that Flu had this season, they went down to 10 men. Sometimes the centre-back was sent off, sometimes a full-back, and Andre ended up covering at the centre-back position. Now there's a lot of people who are worried about his height, saying he's not tall enough for a Klopp team, but he played centre-back for Flu and he did really well on those occasions that he played there. Now, playing as a holding midfielder at Liverpool isn't just about your off the ball work, it's also about your on the ball work. You need to be able to receive the ball in tight spaces from the centre backs, from the goalkeeper, from the full backs, to start attacks, play on the half turn, these kind of things. And this is something that Andre is really good at. I actually consider him to be very similar to Thiago in his style of play, though of course Thiago is way more accomplished and a footballer I really enjoy watching. Andre keeps a hold of the ball really well. He's a smart passer. He keeps things ticking over for Fluminense when they need to move the ball back and to spread the play and start concentrating their numerical superiority in another part of the pitch. One thing he's amazing at though is dribbling. He's got really good dribbling ability, and it reminds me a little bit of Moussa Dembele at Tottenham, without obviously Moussa Dembele's strength, but the style of dribbling and the way he just gets past people. This is something that Liverpool could really do with when they need to play their way out of trouble. Coming into the Premier League, Andre will have to adjust, of course, to the pace of the game, though I believe when people talk about South American games and Brazilian football in general, they think it's slow, but a lot of the Libertadores games that I watch were played at like 100 miles an hour, and especially with the way Flu play, I think he'll fit in perfectly into the Premier League. He's also very young and he'll adapt his game and he'll still improve, hopefully. I spoke to a Brazilian coach friend of mine and he said he should be playing in the national team all the time and he should be replacing Casemiro. High praise there from Brazil. There's a lot of speculation about where he's going to end up, whether it's going to be Bayern, Arsenal, Manchester United have come into play now. But if Liverpool get the chance, and I'm not sure what their squad condition is like and who they would have to take out of it, they should definitely sign Andre. Just a little fun here. Does anyone know why this person hates Andre so much? Or Brazilian football? Hope you've enjoyed this short video. I'm still trying to improve the channel, but if you like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.